I'm Chris Hall from Hall Family Orchards.
Hi, I'm Lee Hall and our farm is based at Wombat, which is 18 kilometres from Young.
So Hall Family Orchards is a cherry orchard and a sheep enterprise. At Cherries, we have 20 hectares of orchard, which is about 9,000 cherry trees, and we run about 200 Aussie white ewes on about 200 acres. Keeps us busy and gives us a little bit of diversification. I originally came from a larger orchard, so we've downsized and we're really trying to focus on quality and flavour.
I think for us it's really exciting to be selling direct to the consumer and getting feedback on what they like, what they don't like.
We have about 10 main varieties and we've got about 4 in trial at the moment. We're always trying to update to find varieties that can handle the weather more. I've had my own cherry orchard for over 25 years now. I'm definitely worried that in the last few years that I'm seeing more extremes. We've come out of 2 years of really bad drought where I did lose 2 hectares of older trees that I was running low on water, I had to turn it off. Last year we had record rains and we got hail 4 times last year, but it's really impacted our business now because the rest of the orchard's quite young and still developing. So we've got these lesions all the way along here where they got hit by hail. We had a windstorm a couple of weeks ago come through and it just, where the weakened part of the limb, it's just snapped because one side's dead from being hit from hail last year and it was weak. We had to battle through last year. There's quite a few varieties we couldn't pick and there was others that had really bad damage, up to 40 and 50% damage, which hard to pay the bills when you get that much damage.
It's been pretty full on, I think, for both of us. I think we've just had to adapt and just keep going on.
Our focus in the last few years is just to see where we can build our resilience and be able to absorb some of the storms or whether we absorb the droughts and not spending too much on inputs and having that pressure of trying to recover some of those input costs. They can be quite high, so we cut all our chemicals. Like, it was a slow transition away from chemicals and testing different things and being brave and bold not to put insecticides on. So we're trying to balance lowering the inputs and letting nature take over. So we've really focused on our soil and collecting rainfall when we can with better infiltration, like better organic matter and more diversity in the soil. Some of the things that we use in our system is this compost. We don't need a great deal of it. We can mix up 10 kilos and do 10 hectares with it. The benefits of using this is that we can cut down on the fertiliser needs. The fertiliser's uptaken more efficiently, so there is savings to be had by using the microbes to basically bring in those nutrients to break down the rock material, the minerals in the soil, and naturally start releasing that into the soil. I did a microscope course last year, so it's pretty cool looking at the soil and seeing what's crawling around in it. We're improving our soil with better infiltration, so the organic matter, the soil's a lot lighter and fluffier. And you can go into the orchard under a tree, dig it up, and you've got earthworms, you've got life, you've got all sorts of different insects in there. And so when you do get a big rainfall event, instead of washing off and taking your topsoil and disappearing to the neighbours, you're able to absorb that into the system and it soaks up. Testing with the water to our irrigation, we use probes that measure the stress of the tree. So these will upload to my phone and we've got a pressure sensor in the irrigation line. So that tells me that it is getting water and it's getting at the right pressure, so there's no blocked filters or no leaking pipes. And then we're also linked up here to sensors on the tree that measures the stress of the tree, that it's growing at the right rate that it should be growing. What it does is it helps to not to overwater. I tend to sometimes overwater, and I think the biggest benefit is that I was watering some blocks more and some blocks less. It's really fine tuning. It's all about optimising the growth and keeping the whole balance. It gives you that resilience. In an ideal system, I'd like everything to be green, and more green plants I have, the more photosynthesis I can collect and convert that into sugar to feed my microbes and have everything cycling properly. Cover crops, if I got to grow a cover crop, if I get a chance or a rain in January after harvest, I'll try and come in here and sow some subtropicals or things like millet and sorghum and sunflowers, and fescue grows through winter but it's pretty inactive through summertime. I do put the sheep in there part of the winter time because they will eat the cherry leaves, so they'll only go in for a week or two. The main reason for that is to help spread manure around there and the microbes that they carry in their stomachs, so that they're grazing on the paddocks. And they get a graze, but it's not there to clean up the whole paddock, but it's just that period where they can add something to the soil and to the system. We decided to go with the Aussie Whites because we could utilise their shedding nature, and they shed the wool and they don't have fly problems. The other thing I love about the Aussie Whites is that they seem to graze really well. The other focus is really trying to increase the diversity of plant numbers and flowering plants and trees, shrubs, so that helps a diverse bird life, and then it helps a diverse insect life. So on this property, I utilised an old existing laneway through the western side of the property, so it acted like a really good shelter belt, and there was some land that wasn't productive. Started to look at the normal natives that were native to this area, but I also wanted to look down the path of timber trees as well. So I've added mahoganies here and Tasmanian blue gums, Victorian blue gums, and a few timber trees, she oaks, and just trying to get that diversity. This is a great little habitat for all the native birds and insects, and even though it's a little bit away from the orchard, I think it's having an impact, beneficial impact on the orchard. The visual checks play a key role just to get a instant feedback, and then the next step is to go and test with some of my handheld devices, and then the final verdict is getting the test sent away and getting an accurate reading. This is our bricks meter or refractometer. Looking through this and measuring the sugar levels. Measures bricks, and anything over 16 is acceptable by the supermarkets, but we're trying to get to 25 bricks. It's just an indication of the sweetness of the fruit, and the higher the bricks, the more resistant they are to insect damage. It's also an indication of how close to harvest they are. Once we've got it up to a certain level, then we're right to harvest.
I think the way Chris is growing cherries now has improved the flavour of the cherries significantly, and you know when customers come through that they are repeat customers because they just love the flavour and they know that they're going to get, do you know what I mean, a really nice cherry that's full of nutrients and it's got no chemicals, but it's just got that flavour they're not tasting in other fruit that they might be eating cherries on the market.
I think we're definitely in a better position now with building the organic matter and having good cover, and if we are starting to dry out and we're starting to get low on feed, then we'll sell some of our stock early. But now that we've got our water storage pretty full, and if we did come into a drought now, then be prepared. We've got good storage for the dams, and then we've got the increased water availability in the soil. I think we're much better prepared now. It's always hard as a farmer. I've always manipulated things to my advantage, but Mother Nature knows way better than us and can respond better to any situation, so you've got to put more trust in her. When I take a step back and let things happen, that's when the magic starts coming through, so yeah, it's awesome to see.